yourself, Stacie.
Okay. Well, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Goodles. And by show of hands, if I can maybe see them, I'll have you raise them. How many of you have heard about Goodles? Okay. I think that's a good, you're going to have to say, that's a good amount. Okay. So Goodles was started in November of 2021. And it was a brand really born out of the pandemic, right? It was this need state that came about. We have two founders, Jen Zezit and Paul Earle. And they saw this opportunity area in the mac and cheese space. The mac and cheese space is huge, right? But there hadn't been a lot of innovation in quite some time. So if you think about mac and cheese, what is it? It's this category that it's very nostalgic. There's, it's comfort. It's a classic. And it means different things to different people, but it hadn't had kind of a reinvention in quite some time. So really the concept was simple. It was difficult to execute, but the simple concept was, how do we take something that's just beloved by so many people, and then how do we give it an upgrade for the more modern consumer and how consumers are shopping and eating? And so that really became, we had to have the table stakes, a product that tasted great, that people were familiar with, because everybody in this room probably thinks of something when it comes to mac and cheese, right? But it also, we wanted to give it a little bit of an upgrade. So, when you think about Goodles, it's the protein, it's the fiber, it's the nutrients, but you don't want it to feel like that when you're eating it. And so I think that's been the magic of Goodles. So we're still really early, 4 years in almost, our birthday in November. But it's been a great ride.
And you've been there throughout the whole 4 years, right?
So I wasn't part of the founding team, but I've been there since pre-launch, so about 4 years, yeah. And then I came into this role as the CMO about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. If you could describe Goodles in 3 words, what would it be?
So I think you can't have Goodles without yum. So the first word would definitely be yum. So if you've tried it, hopefully, that first bite, you're like, wow, that's just delicious, right? We cannot build the brand on anything if we don't have that. That was really important. And our R&D lead, Molly Mache, who's kind of an industry legend, she really nailed the product. So yum is the first one. And then it's nutrition, and so it's in that order. It's got to be the yum, and then it's the nutrition, because I don't think people, they expect more these days. Like if something's great and good for you, does it taste good? Not always. So had to have the yum and then the nutrition. So in our product, and I think we'll do a video here in a minute, we really see all the benefits. But we have protein, we have fiber, we have 21 nutrients from plants and vegetables. So it's that combo, it's the yum and the nutrition that's really been an unlock for us, because it really is something we say you can't have it all. Like you can have both sides of the coin. So it's yum, it's nutrition, and then I think boldness. Everything we do in our branding and how we talk about the product, it's bold. Like we challenge conventions. We are always, I've learned a lot, right? I've been in marketing a long time, and I had to get comfortable with some of the things that were more uncomfortable, because we challenge each other. We go big, we go bold, and so it's been a great experience. But yum, nutrition, and boldness.
Yeah, let's see how that's coming into life. Is it Goodles or is it Goodles? Or do you like both?
It's Goodles, right? We have a little bit of a conversation internally that you can kind of say, whatever you want to go with, but it is Goodles. Yeah. So it's the good in noodles, it's Goodles.
Yeah. So you talked about how you were part of the brand before the launch into retail stores. When was this pinch me moment that you're like, oh, we have something here that's going to be a cultural phenomenon?
Yeah. So I think first off, when you taste the product, so in the beginning, nobody knew who we were. And so every moment that you had when people were tasting the product, that was really a pinch me moment. I would look at people and their eyes would light up and I'm like, this is so good, it's delicious, and like the sparkle, and you're like, and then they just kept eating and eating and eating, and it wasn't like they were just like, yeah, it's good because we know you and you're part of this. It was really like they loved the product, and so that was in the beginning. And so I think now, though, there's another pinch me moment that I have as a marketer, right? So we all know what it's like to make a product, create a product, brand a product, market a product. And so now people are knowing the brand more. And when I meet people, like here, and they're playing back almost verbatim what we intend to say about the brand, that moment as a marketer, like that's gold, right? When people are saying, oh, I haven't eaten mac in years, or now I feel good about giving this to my daughter or my child, and it's delicious, but oh, the nutrient contents, all of that is like chef's kiss. That's what you work for.
You talked a little bit about like wanting to innovate mac and cheese, right? A product that probably hasn't seen a ton of innovation recently, but it's something that everyone is so familiar with.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to go after like that typical mac and cheese consumer. So what are some of those like early assumptions that you challenged about who you were really trying to target?
Yeah, I mean, if I ask you who you think the typical mac and cheese consumer is, or shopper, you're probably going to say parents with kids. We love parents, we love kids. But the big challenge in the beginning was that everybody loves mac and cheese. You may not eat it, right? You may not still eat it. And that could be for a variety of reasons. You've moved on and you don't have, you try to eat healthier. But so we said, no, we're going to design this for everybody. And we're going to market it to everybody. And that was, from the beginning, something that we really stood firm on, and it's really worked because we've been really incremental to the category in terms of sales.
What were some of those like flavor profiles that you really wanted to innovate on? Because it's not just like traditional mac and cheese. You guys took a little bolder stance on some of introducing new flavors to the product too, right?
So we had, if you're familiar with our product, the names are, Chetty Mac, Shellagood, Twist My Parm. They're all like a little bit of a fun twist. And there's a good story out there of, we're going to launch with those first 3 flavors. And Jen, I think it was Jen and Paul, our founders, they were like, we need a little something extra. And, the 4th flavor was born. So it's the mover and shaker, which is the cacio e pepe. And so that flavor was born, and we even have a company holiday around it. It's May 4th. It's just in honor of this boldness and this innovation and really taking a step further. So cacio e pepe was a bold one, really nothing like that. And then that led the way over to, hatch and truffle and bacon. So I think really the sky's the limit on flavors, but you always want to be balancing, what's going to really appeal to people. Will they eat the whole bowl?
Yeah, May 4th, you said that's
May the 4th.
That's my wedding anniversary, Stacie.
Oh, well.
I feel like I have
now
to
I have more
this.
things to
my
celebrate
husband will be so
on that
excited.
day. It's all free. I'll make sure you get part of that in a
You
little
talked about
package.
the second word being nutrition, right? So
Yeah.
obviously the product tastes good. You're going after different flavors.
Yep.
You're hitting new consumers, but you're not labeling yourself as like the healthy alternative to mac and cheese, right?
Yeah.
So like, why was that important to kind of note the differences between that tone?
I think it's so easy to kind of fall into that trap of, marketing something super healthy, and there's tropes, and there's just like, you can kind of start to feel really guilty.
Yeah.
You can start to feel like a negative, right? And so we never wanted to feel our consumers, our fans, to feel negative when they're exposed to our product. We didn't want them to feel negative in order to feel positive. We wanted them to just feel good. So I think that was, pretty much, we don't talk about guilt. It's really just how it can be better for you.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much from the beginning. And that's, the yum and the nutrition, leading with that helps too, I think, because it's not hitting people over the head with that nutrition message.
Because so much what we find is people say they want to eat healthy, and they don't necessarily want to eat everything healthy. They just want the better for you option kind of thing. And so you guys kind of really found that middle ground between something that is nostalgic and flavorful, but also that you're not going to feel like a gut bomb kind of when you're having it. Yeah.
And it's gooder. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we want to just raise the bar in different areas, the flavors and the nutrition and the taste. So it's a little bit better.
So as you were starting
a lot
to
of ways.
build this brand and launch into retail stores, like what were some of those fundamentals that you really wanted to focus on and make sure that you didn't want to skip over to do it right, kind of thing?
Just in terms of building the brand and how we designed it. So I think that, for us, really, I think nailing those fundamentals, when you look at, as a marketer, the 4 Ps, right? Product, price, promotion, placement. So before you can even get to the promotion, the marketing, you have to really, I believe, I'm a big believer, nail those fundamentals. So that started with product here. That was making sure it tasted and it delivered, making sure the packaging was fun and screamed from the shelf. Pricing, had to nail that. It's premium, but it couldn't go too far. Right. Placement was huge, so we got it into the right doors, the right retailers, and then we can build on the promotions and the marketing from that. But that baseline, those were the fundamentals, and that was really, you look at the brand, right, and it's so fun, and it's so, there's so much joy, but there was a lot of thought that went into all of those different levers.
So then now as you're getting more into a kind of a growth stage, right? People know the brand, hands all around the room, which is great. How are you balancing kind of these fundamentals and being brand building while still driving ultimately the final path to purchase?
It's a hard question. I think it's there's probably a panel out there next about that balance. And I think the answer is you're never going to get it perfect, right? I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think we were saying that that perfect ratio of brand building and performance just doesn't exist, and it's wrong even if you put it on paper. But you take your best shot of, you have to look at your goals and your objectives. What are you trying to do? So if you're a smaller brand, and you just need to make an impact, and you have to, nail velocities at retail, first goal maybe. So then you're probably looking at more performance-driven metrics. You want to prove the ROI, make sure you can kind of have a story to tell. But you got to do both. The answer is you have to do both. You have to figure out how to do both. And I would just say it starts with the plan, map out a framework, and then just challenge yourself in a lot of different ways, right? Challenge yourself on that mix. If you're like, well, we really were startup and we're new, and I gotta keep doing the ROI. So someone yesterday said it's overnight sales or it's brand building. It's both. Yeah. But I think just challenging yourself and saying, what if we got a little uncomfortable and put a little more into something flashy and buzzy, and then see how that works. And then pulling back and just saying, okay, are we using all these tried and true tactics that maybe are a little stale? How do we freshen things up and throw something in and maybe do a little bit of a test? So I think you always have to be auditing, and it's hard. It's really hard to find that balance. And it has to go back to your brand, right? So maybe flashy and bold isn't for you, but there's a lot of tactics we're hearing from a lot of vendors. Trying different things, I think, is big.
Innovation has been kind of a key theme, whether it's that product innovation or the process innovation. How do you just get out of your own way to try something new, to be a little different? What works for you to kind of challenge the status quo?
That was, I'm a classically trained marketer. I've been in CPG for a long time, over 25 years.
Own it.
And 25 years. And I grew up a certain way. You do landscape analysis, and you talk to consumers, and you do all these things. And at Goodles, it's different. It's just we do things like that, right? We're not going to launch something that doesn't have a sound reason, but it's a little bit of a different process for us. We have a secret sauce to how we innovate together. And so just getting out of the comfort zone, throwing something down, what if we do this? What if we... crazy things come out of these brainstorms, and I fully embraced it, and I'm better for it, in every single aspect of marketing. But, just different people coming to the table with different styles. And sometimes things get said in meetings, and it's like, okay, why don't we do that? And then we'll vet it. But it's just flipping the conversation. It's not like sitting in, big CPG where you have to go, you can't even have a conversation, right, until you've done all the groundwork and the legwork. It's kind of embraced. It's just you throwing stuff out there. If you have an instinct, trusting the instinct.
A noodle on a wall and seeing if it sticks.
Throwing a noodle at the wall, seeing if it sticks. Yep, heard that before. Yep, that is.
Oh, I thought I was so creative.
Yes. Where's the beat?
Can you share maybe like what was one of those craziest ideas that came out of one of those brainstorms? Whether it came out into the campaign or not, but you're like, whoa.
I don't know, because if it hasn't launched, we might still launch it. I mean, we do, like, I have all these ideas in my head that are floating around. I'm like, we won't, no, we could do that. So that's going to be hard. You know, but I think a lot of the flavors we've done, right, you take, you know, bacon, right? So if you think of bacon, and we launched a Billionaire Bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? Some people don't. But, you know, it was this, okay, bacon, pulling it into a SKU, but then, you know, how do we make that different? So it's a Billionaire Bacon, so it has maple notes, has a little pepper in it, and so it's just kind of taking something that may have inspiration and then pulling it back to our own Goodles way of doing things.
What were some of the tactics that you relied on when you first launched into your retail stores, and how have those pivoted now that you're in this new stage of your brand? So
really early on, and this will sound obvious, but everywhere we went, we're like, we're going to crush it. We are just going to kill it. And we're going to just, you know, do what we need to do. And so that meant when we launched at a retailer, we had a certain pacing and phasing of retail launches. We had that luxury where, you know, you go into one and it was really about, you know, figuring out what success meant at that retailer. And so a few of us have a background in shopper marketing, so we said, okay, if we're going into this retailer, what's the slate of products that we can do? Let's do those things. But then we said, what else can we bring to the table? You know, our social media, our kind of fan base as we grew, and how do we bring that to life? And so it was really that mix of classic tactics like performance, right? But then the awareness side of things, just making sure that, you know, we had our own stamp on things. And then it became a conversation because retailers were really trusting of us, and you know, we had this balance. So anywhere we go, we still launch with that strategy in mind, of really getting to know, you know, the retailer to be successful.
You introduce these new flavors to something that is so ubiquitous with childhood, right? Mac and cheese. Like, how did you creatively take a sampling, right, to get people to even try your product in the first place?
So sampling is big for us, and you know, there's some cool digital retail sampling out there that we definitely leaned on to get, you know, product into people's hands. But we do all kinds of things, right? Where about 2 weeks ago, locally, our headquarters is in Santa Cruz, and one of our founders, Paul, bought and gifted a dune buggy, right? So old school dune buggy, painted flames on the side of it. It's called the Mover and Shaker, in a nod to our fourth flavor. And we take that thing out, right? So out in Santa Cruz, there was a race called She is Beautiful, and it was the day before Mother's Day, and the whole team at headquarters came out, loaded up the Mover and Shaker, took it to the beach, people were running, and so we were just like literally a whole display of our product, and such joy, right, and building a moment. So we do everything from, you know, high touch like that to things that are more tactical and just the brilliant basics, so to speak, yeah.
The experiential stuff is interesting too, right? Because so much of what we do is behind computer screens, but at the end of the day, we have to reach our consumers.
Right.
So you did a big activation at EXPO West recently, right?
We did.
Can you talk about how you really brought kind of the brand to life and connected with people like IRL?
Yeah, so first off, are you guys familiar with EXPO? By show of hands, has anybody been? Okay.
3 people, maybe 4.
Yeah. So just a background on that. So EXPO West, huge trade show. It's the natural food space. So it's about 75 to 90,000 people show up at this trade show. And you go, and we went, and our first year, we had this booth where you're talking to vendors, you're talking to buyers, you're selling your product in, and we just had this energy at the booth where people were like, oh, Goodles. And they would come, and we're like, there's something to this energy, right? And then somebody on the team made this, it was kind of a joke, like, we should have a party next year. EXPO needs a party. And so then these two things kind of came together over the next few months, and we threw a party. So the idea was that, yes, it's retailers at a trade show. Yes, it's vendors at a trade show. But it's our community. It's our fans that are there. And what if we took that energy, right, when people passing through the booth, and we just had a big party, and it was pure joy. We've done it twice now, so I think you're going to show the second one we just did, but we rented out the House of Blues in Anaheim. We had 2,500 people, And then the second year we upped it again, and we had Goodles prom, so that was in March. So you're about to see a video on that. And this year for us, it was like, how do we extend that? Yes, we want to party with all of our friends from Expo, but we, upped the bar a bit. You're going to see a lot of cool things in here, people dancing, and, we had break dancers. But we built our community into it this time. So we had a contest with our biggest fans, and we said, hey, who wants to come to Goodles prom? And we were going to fly one person out. We ended up flying out 3. And it was just amazing. So I think you're going to show some of it.
And before we show the video, was this about selling product? Like, how did you go into this? You're like, oh, I just want more people to know the brand? Or was this to, like, re-engage your lapsed customers, reward your loyal customers, find new people?
So in the Goodles way, right, ideas come to life, and they grow, and you're like, yeah, you attach, like, meaning to it, and over time, it was kind of this concept of, we had a lot of people that just didn't know us still. We had some that did, some that didn't, but let's build some buzz there, let's get some people together, hang out, and it was a lot of what we do is just very authentic, right? Yeah, we could have attached KPIs to it, and we could have probably brought the whole thing down by saying, well, it's not efficient, it's not this, and it's not that, but we just believe in things, believe in certain things, and so it kind of took off, and so it served really a lot of like engagement with fans that already love us, building in new fans, because people will see us on the show floor now, and they're like, great party, and we're gonna see you next year. So it was a little bit of like, we should do this, and then everything kind of came together.
Yeah, well, nothing kills a campaign more than be like, oh, we have to drive sales to this, right?
Yeah,
it's the death of
exactly.
marketing. So let's watch the video.
Human claw machine. Those were our contest winners.
That's our video. You've clearly built this like passionate community. Like this is no longer just about mac and cheese, right? How are you tapping into that community to really help them tell your story themselves?
Yeah, again, always authentic. I think authenticity is a big buzzword, but we really, really mean it. We don't want to do anything that starts to feel like icky or just not right. So, the contest was a great example. Taking fans, people that just love us, and that we saw them posting about us, and we put a challenge out there, and they made videos, and they were engaging with us. We do a lot on social media, so our social media manager is fantastic, and she engages with people on social, sometimes to the point where I'm like, does she know this person? Like, I literally think, I'm like, how does V know this person? And no, it's just that she knows how to relate to everybody. We have a wide range of people. And then I would say our CX team, too, it's not just, digital, but we're engaging, with our consumers all the time, whether it's phone calls or custom notes that we send out to people or on social. And so it really is something for us. And so we see it, coming back to us, like you said, people are talking about us. People love to discover new things, but when they find something they love, they want to talk about it. And that's power. But I think if you almost set out to do it with that intention, it doesn't always work that way. So again, it's just like dipping our toes in areas that just kind of make sense for us and for the consumer, so they feel like they're in this with us.
What's one thing kind of this community has done that's like totally surprised you?
So we get wedding invites. We
Do you go?
No, we've talked about it a lot. We're like, oh, if there's just like one close by, like, 'cause it's on the weekend, and the team. We have had people dress up like us, like a Goodles box for Halloween. We have people writing us poems, and then our co-founder Paul writes them back.
Oh my gosh.
And then we've had people tattoo our noodle logo on their body. On their body.
Where?
I think ankle.
Okay,
It's like some are close-up shots, so you're like, I don't know where that is. But
Yeah.
yeah, like people are fans.
Yeah.
They are fans, and like it's pretty fantastic. Yeah.
My last question before we'll open it up to the crowd. Innovation obviously is big for you guys. How are you incorporating like consumer insights to kind of fuel your innovation pipeline about what's coming next?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at innovation trends right now, everybody knows protein, and then the next one is protein, and then protein and protein. So we've got that, right? That's great. Great starting point. Another trend that we're seeing right now is nostalgia. That's huge this year. And so somehow, Molly Mache, head of R&D, chief product officer, I always joke she's kind of like this Mintel reports and data, like all in one, and she also makes fantastic product. But she's kind of ahead of trends, and she just kind of knows. And so I think that nostalgia trend we are leaning into already. We have a product, we just launched 3 new products. And so to give you an example of one of them, it's called Thrilled Cheese. It just launched recently, and it's a play on grilled cheese, right? So what's more nostalgic than grilled cheese? Mac and cheese. And so it's American cheese. You have toasty notes from like the grilled cheese, butter notes. So it's just, we keep, we always have our head kind of on a swivel, like understanding what consumers are into, looking at trends, and really just what fits with our brand. It's got to fit.
We also eat this one with tomato soup, right? You can't have grilled cheese without tomato soup.
You could, yeah. I think we did a mashup of like putting it into a grilled cheese, and then you could do it with soup. But so yeah, it would be great. I think it'd be great that way.
Questions for Stacie? We got one. Oh, wait.
Oh yes, Dana, hip to save. Obviously, I just spoke about community, and it sounds like you guys have a really involved one. Did that come organically, or like when in the initial stages? Obviously, you've done a lot of effort now, but like, what did that look like? How did you build that community and the trust?
Yeah, so early on, I think it is happening more organically now. People are leaning in and kind of feeding that. But early on, we did a lot with every launch that we did. We did a lot of influencer. Just organic influencers and seeding, and we had these kits that we would send out, which would just have like great products in them and great, we did each one had kind of a theme to it, and so people would receive this at home and they would just start posting about it and start talking about it. And so if you give people a great product, something fun, they really do want to talk about it. So it was a little bit, in the beginning, and we still pay attention to it, but it is starting to kind of grow and build itself.
Hi, Kevin Nemacki, Synergistic. I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit about what your strategy was early on, because you talked a lot about retail distribution and making that successful, but also like looking at your website, you have e-com, and so how does that play into your early kind of growth story and the evidence you were trying to create, say, to get distribution? Were you focusing on retail data? Were you focusing on the e-com data? How are you sort of making that case?
Yeah, so there were a few things there. That's a great question. So we actually launched on D2C in November, and then we came into retail the following year. And so for us, yeah, like the D2C, it was a big proof point, right? So we had a few things. We had, the strong launch on D2C that kind of got us into conversations. We also had this concept that we were going to really fundamentally change up the category, meaning we were going after new consumers, so we had this belief that we were going to bring in new people. It wasn't going to be about swapping share. It was going to be about bringing in new consumers. So it was a story. It was the D2C sales, really strong to start, but combined with this story of, there were a lot of experts from the industry. We have, one of our founding members was Deb Luster, who was at one point in time was the CEO of Annie's. So we had kind of this strong suit of veterans in the space. And we took that story that we were going to be growing the category, so retailers were pretty excited about that. So that combined with the D2C sales, it was really strong, and then we started to see that pay off. And our sales are 60, 70, 80%, depending on the retailer, incremental to the growth that we're driving is incremental from outside the existing category.
Stacie, thank you so much for kicking us
So
off
great
this
to be
morning.
here.
We had another one.
You want to do one more? You had a question. Let's do it.
Oh, wait, now we're completely thrown off.
We can do 2 applauses.
It's a Stacie to Stacie situation.
Oh,
Stacie to Stacie. Here we go.
I'm here for it.
Stacie, I'm co-founder of All Better Co, and I love hearing your story. There's a lot of, I feel like, synergies in what we are doing and the way we're talking about categories.
Awesome.
And I might be wrong here, but at the beginning, you had some celebrity investors, is that correct? Or ambassadors?
Yes.
Gal
Yes.
Gadot, I feel like. So I'm curious, at the beginning, did that drive your story at all? And did it help?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We had, Gal was on board early on with kind of the founding team. And so, yeah, that definitely helped amplify and get the word out, right? So she shared it on her network, on socials, and so that was definitely something that helped, I would say, expedite the ramp up of it. But that was a fantastic thing to have going for us in the beginning, for sure.
We have one more. I mean, we can just stay here all day. It's just a lock-in.
Well,
You
my
can't go
Uber
home.
comes at 10:15, so
She's like, not all day.
I'll keep you till 10:15.
Stephanie Desai with June Group. So you mentioned Annie's, so obviously competitor. When you were launching, how much of your strategy was to try to pull share from your competitors?
I mean, to be honest, not much at all. I think it was, we believe, even in how we talk about, our competitors, right? It's just about building something. Like, we're not like, we're gonna go steal share. It's not like that. We're gonna grow something that's different, and we're gonna, like, kind of, what is it they say, a rising tide floats all boats. Truly, that's how we see it. And so it's never been about that. It's just create a great product that resonates with people, and they're gonna come, and they come from outside the category, and so we can all be there together in that space. There's like something for everybody.
Yeah, Jackie said it best yesterday, right? There's enough consumers for everybody out here, right? Especially in something like mac and cheese.
Exactly.
All right, one final round of applause for Stacie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.